Welcome back to Behind the Bikini. Jordan is back with us this week. She's back from vacation. Fuck you, bitch. I'm like, God damn it. I wish I was on a cruise. Gosh.
If it makes you feel any better, the weather was awful, and we didn't get
Oh,
to.
really?
Yeah, it was awful. So, but we
Oh,
made the best of
okay.
it.
That does make me feel better. That makes me feel
Good.
better.
Yes.
So we are on episode 120, or no, I'm sorry, 119, 119, almost there, 119.
Almost there.
And today we're going to talk about the fact that the pro show list did come out yesterday for 2026. Also, rules for Fit Model Pros for 2026 came out. So we're going to talk about all of it. But before we get into that, like, comment, subscribe, hit those buttons wherever they are on your devices. And okay, so how was your Thanksgiving overall, other than the crappy weather on the cruise?
Yeah, the Thanksgiving was amazing. We all my Arizona peeps, so Jamie, Greg, and their kids, and Aaron Cam all
Mhm.
met us in Miami, and then one of my best friends, Victoria. And then we all went to Drew's parents' house on Thanksgiving, and it was awesome. It was one of my
Yeah.
favorite Thanksgivings. It was just a really great time to see like basically our two families, come together. So that was really, really special. And then right after the day after Thanksgiving, we all hopped on a cruise, and then the weather was pretty bad when we woke up on Friday morning. So we kind of knew that it was probably not going to be hit or miss. We were most excited about day one, going to the private island, Royal Caribbean's private island. And fun fact, I've tried to go to this island now on a cruise 3 times, and it's been canceled every single time due to bad
Really?
weather. Yeah, so I was really excited because we got like this private cabana with like a private pool, and it was just going to be like such a vibe. And like, I had like all of my intentions set on like partying that day and then like relaxing on day two, but didn't happen that way. But we
Yeah.
made the most of it. It was super fun. Yeah, it was just such a good time, even though the weather didn't, pan out the way we wanted to. So
Yeah. This time of year in Florida, usually that's not an issue though, right? Usually it's pretty good weather.
I mean, Florida and the Bahamas are Florida and the Bahamas. You
Yeah.
could wake up and it could be storming, and then 2 hours later, it's sunny and beautiful.
Yeah.
So it was just with the private island, Royal Caribbean's private island, they finally, a couple years ago, built their own dock. Before that, used to have to take tenders over. So when they built their own dock, though, it's pretty open. Like there's no other surrounding land to kind of block wind or wave.
Okay.
So like if it's crappy weather, they can't dock the boat because it's just
Okay.
it's just too wavy to control it.
Okay.
So hence why I've never been able to go. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am cursed. I'm cursed. The private island's called Coco Cay. So I'm like, I'm cursed from Coco Cay. Just
Oh gosh.
something doesn't want me to be there.
Uh, well, I always think about stuff like that. I'm like, if that sort of thing happens, there's a reason why you're not supposed to be there.
Yeah,
Something worse would have happened if you were there or whatever. I always try to think of it in terms
clearly.
like that. So yeah, I'm trying to think, like, we went to what was it, St. Thomas. We went to St. Thomas this time of year. It was October. We were there for a week and it was pretty good weather, but yeah, there were a few days where it just rained the whole time. We were there for a full week though, so it doesn't matter when it rains like 2 days out of the week. You know what I mean? So
That's a fun
uh,
cruise because you usually do like St. Thomas, St.
yeah,
Kitts, and
yeah.
there's like a whole like island system that you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was we basically stayed. We did go to a couple other places, other islands too. But we stayed right at the resort most of the time. We rented a Jeep one day and like went around and stuff like that. And so it was a good time. That was so long ago. Now that I'm thinking about it, that was like almost 10 years ago at this point. Fuck. Time goes
Yeah,
by so fast.
it really does. It really does. Drew and I used to
Holy
cruise all the
cow.
time, and then I don't think that we've been on a cruise since like 2022, the year that I right after my first Olympia, when I told Jamie literally the day of the Olympia that I was going on a cruise the next day. She's like, "Are you serious?" And I binged my face off. It wasn't the best decision.
Yeah, we've all done that. We've all been there. But like we were just talking about this before we logged on here. I was like, going through this week's check-ins with all my clients from Thanksgiving, and like none of them fell off. I was like, all right, good job, guys. It's like,
Yeah.
I guess we're learning, you know what I mean? And like the worst that one person did is they had extra crumb cake on like Friday or whatever it was, or Saturday or whatever. I was like, that's really not bad. I was like,
Yeah.
and she's a lifestyle client too. She's not even a prep client or anything like that. I was like, and then she found out the reason why she had that craving was because she got her period the next day. And I was like, well, that makes sense too. I'm like, everything, like, no, literally nobody went way off, which is
That's
very,
awesome.
very rare, very, very rare. So I was like, Hmm, must be doing something right.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I have 78 active right now on my roster.
Yeah.
Well, this week we're up more, but 78 last week on my roster, and two of them checked in and binged. Other than that, everybody was like literally the same weight as their previous check-in or even dropped.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's really, really cool to see that. I definitely think that the coach sets the expectation for that, and I was very proud of that too. Very, very proud of my girls and my team because we
100%.
all have choices in life.
Yep.
And, even the ones that did binge, they owned it and they were
Yeah.
honest and they
Yeah.
were like, I'm really sorry that this happened, but this is what happened. And literally both of them said in their check in, like, I know that you can't do your job if I'm not honest with you and told you what I did. And, it's really cool. It's cool to like see the education that we're able to give so that people know like what a check in should look like
Yeah.
after that moment, or, just being able to stay on plan. Even one athlete was like, yeah, I wanted another piece of pie, but I just saw Jay Brandon on my shoulder. I was like, no, I'm not touching that.
I love it. Well, and also it's like you start when you have those moments too, like what tends to happen, this is what everybody says to me, the same thing that happens to me. You get through that moment of saying no, and then you realize, hey, I really didn't need that. You know what I mean? I actually feel really good about the fact that I didn't do that because that was just social pressure or whatever it was, pressure of the holiday. And in reality, I actually didn't want it, you know?
Literally. I mean, like, I didn't even have, like, any I mean, Drew's parents go, like, all out for Thanksgiving. I think I had 1 cookie, like, 1 just, like,
Yeah.
chocolate chip cookie, and I spent most of my time literally socializing with
Yeah.
everybody that were there and practicing what I preach, and I did have 2 servings of dinner, though, and my mother-in-law told me to come hungry, so I did,
Yeah.
and, the food was, like, an hour and a half late. We were starving.
Uh,
But yeah, I like didn't really have any dessert. I could have. I really wasn't interested. I ended up doing all the dishes with my friend Victoria. And by the time I was done with that, I'm like, I'm good. Like I'm
yeah.
I'm good. I had
Yeah.
plenty of wine though. Everybody knows me and my vino self. I had plenty of wine and enjoyed, like completely enjoyed. But obviously within reason.
Yeah, well, and that's me too. Like I used to, it's so funny too. I feel like as we get older, our taste buds change because I used to really, really be into sweets and I'm just not anymore. And
Yeah,
like, we had Thanksgiving. So funny story. So we went to so it's Lansdowne Resort. So it's a really nice like country club kind of resort near us in Virginia, and we got a room for the night. We reserved an igloo that night. We did like igloo with like hot chocolate and all that kind of
I
stuff.
love
You know what I mean?
those.
So it's
So
so much
cool.
fun. But we went to go reserve for the thanks. They do a Thanksgiving brunch, so it's like a whole buffet thing and all this kind of stuff. Really like elaborate and all this stuff. So we went to go reserve for that, and it was sold out. And we're like, shit, you know. So we're like, all right, well, they're like, well, don't worry about it. There's a restaurant on premises, and they serve all the same food. So even if we'll put you on the wait list, even if you can't get in, you can go to the restaurant and get Thanksgiving dinner. We're like, okay, cool, awesome. So we get
Perfect.
there. Yeah, we get there. We go to the restaurant. It's bar food. And I'm like, this is not Thanksgiving food. So Dan was like, no, we're not eating bar food for Thanksgiving. This is not happening. So he goes downstairs to, well, we both go downstairs to where they have the buffet set up and all that kind of stuff. And he was like, yeah, we have a reservation for 2 for Lewis. They're like, we don't see you on here. Like, he's like, what time is your reservation? He's like, oh, I'm pretty sure it's 3 o'clock and everything. And he's like, we can't find you. So he pulls up the reservation for the room, the igloo and everything. He's like, no, it's right here. It's right here. They're like, oh, I see what it is. You have the igloo. Just look like you're on here, but let me find a place because they're like, well, they're spending a lot of money here, so let's get them in. so, so
Perfect.
we talked our way in. It worked. My husband's a
Hey,
really good salesperson. What can I say?
sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
So and it's not like we got anything for free. We just needed a table, you know.
Right.
So it's like so it was good. It was and same thing. Like I had so I did 2 plates and then I did dessert, but like I had salad on my first plate and then the second plate was all the turkey and the prime rib and all that kind of stuff. They actually had a whole like seafood bar and I wanted to try it, but I was full and I was like, I'm not gonna do it. They had like crab legs, the oysters, and all that kind of stuff, and I just didn't even go back. And then I went and got a dessert plate and I had one piece of which one did I do? I grabbed a bunch of them and I tried a bite of each of them. Which one I actually ate the pumpkin pie. That's the one I ate.
Mm, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And
That's
then it
that's like my
was,
secret though, like when I'm telling people like to go out on their free meal is start with a seafood tower. It's all
yeah.
protein, it's
Yeah.
straight protein, it gets you nice and full, and like most of the time when I do a seafood tower, I'm like not even really that hungry by the time my steak comes. Like that's definitely the move.
Well, that's why I did the salad first.
Yeah.
Same thing. I was like, the salad, all that roughage fills you up real quick. And it was good. Like it was like they had like your regular typical salads, but then they had like they had it was like a pear and like goat cheese and all this kind of
Oh,
stuff. It was,
love,
really, really
love
good.
that
So
combo.
yeah, it was really good stuff. So I was like, that filled me up right there. And I was like, I can't, like, I just gotta at least eat some turkey. Like, it's like a little bit of turkey, prime rib, little mashed potatoes, a little bit of stuffing, and I was good, So, but
I
it
don't
was,
even
it
like
was, it was
turkey.
nice.
Like, I don't not like it, but it's not my first choice.
Same. Well, that
Yeah.
was the whole thing. It's like you kind of have to have turkey on Thanksgiving. I mean, have to. When we've done Thanksgiving ourselves in the years previous, we did steak last year because I was in prep. I was a
Yeah.
week
I
out,
remember.
so we did steaks last year. We've done Cornish game hens. We've talked about
Yep.
that here. We've done
Yep.
Cornish game hens, so we do stuff different because same. Like I can't remember the last time I cooked a turkey. It was when we were in Gainesville, or I'm sorry, Aldi. So 5 years ago, 6 years ago was the last time I actually cooked a turkey.
Yeah. Drew's parents do 3 every year. They bake one, smoke one, fry one.
Fried
There's
turkey's actually
plenty.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
fried turkey's
Yeah.
actually good.
It can be a
Yeah,
little dry. You have to make it the right way. Like my favorite is just like OG baked if I'm
yeah,
gonna if I'm gonna eat it. But
yeah,
smoked is pretty good too. But
yeah,
depends on if they get lost in the smoker. It's up to the chef.
yeah. But yeah, so it's like, going back to it was just like it was a normal day. It was nice to just be kind of chill and relaxed and enjoy the time and all that kind of stuff. And didn't feel like I ate like a cow. I actually underate this past week, which was not that was more stress induced. And I said that in my check-in with Jamie. I was like, I'm just going through some family shit right now. I was like, I was
Mm.
forcing myself to eat and I just couldn't get it all in. So
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I definitely have a lot of clients going through stress right now with family or work. And it's just the time of year, the end
it
of the
is.
year with a lot of companies and they're on deadlines and financial obligations, and everybody's stressed with kids out of school and family
Yep.
stuff. And like, me coming from a kid of, two traumatic parents, it was always the holidays that were the worst and it would always stir up something. So be kind to yourself, protect yourself. It's definitely the time of year where we're gonna see more and more of that coming through.
Yeah, the holidays are really hard for a lot of people. Like, we talk about being around family and all that kind of stuff, but like you said, coming from a background with a traumatic background, that's the reality for a lot of people. And just stuff starts happening. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of sicknesses in my family right now. So it's like serious stuff. And it's just like all of a sudden everything hits all at once. It feels like, they talk about that, like the rule of three, like when something's going to happen, it's going to happen in threes. And that's basically what's happening. So it's like, fuck, all of a sudden you go from everybody's happy and to, to not, and it's just, it's rough. And it's tough during this time of year too, I think specifically because it's supposed to be a time to like be with your family and enjoy your family and enjoy that time. And when stuff like that comes up, it makes it even more difficult to do that.
Yeah, absolutely, especially people that have lost family members, very recently or not even so recently. Just like you're saying, it's a stark reminder that that person is missing or
Yep.
absent or, not fully present. And it's difficult because you have an expectation of how you want your holidays to go. And we all think about the Hallmark Christmas. And
Mhm.
the bottom line is most of us don't have the Hallmark
That's
Christmas or the Hallmark
right.
holiday. It's life is life, and it's
Right.
I think it's difficult, and it's a comparison game, at the end of the day. But remember that people only post online or in Hallmark, the happy and feel good things, and it's not reality.
Yep, absolutely. Like you were just saying about everybody going down to Miami together, with the kind of like the Friendsgiving kind of deal, like I think a lot more people are kind of gravitating towards that for holidays. A lot of people nowadays are not getting married, they're not having kids, they're not doing the whole family unit thing anymore. So, being around people that your chosen family versus your born family, things like that too. I mean, try to find ways just, even being here in Vegas, like I started going to that 11th house for, the yoga and pole classes and stuff. And I was just there yesterday for yoga. And one of the owners was like, "You're going to come to our Christmas party next week, right?" And like, I hadn't planned on it, but now I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, this is where I should be saying yes.
Yeah, building community. I
Mhm.
mean, chosen family has always been a thing for me,
Yeah.
choosing who I want in my life and, who was, even picking me up as a stranded child, to help me grow. I could think of so many parents and friends of friends' parents over the years that took me literally under their wing and help raise me, and those were my chosen family back in the day. I remember there was a Mother's Day post I made once and literally had like 16 people on there that I wanted to thank. And I see a lot more people gravitating to that, and it's okay.
Yeah.
This used to be very taboo for me back in the day, like where my family was like completely off and I was going to friends' houses or boyfriends' houses and things like that. And people would be like, you need to be with your family, that's your blood. And I'm like, blood or not, these people don't treat me like,
Oh, absolutely.
family. Yeah. And my
100%.
aunt, my aunt, I love this philosophy of hers. And I always said, if I were to change my mind and have kids, I would have it say the same thing. She was like, I don't care where you are on the holiday. I just want you to be where you're happy. That's what everybody should be in the holiday. If you want to
Yeah.
be in the south of France and backpacking in the middle of nowhere by yourself, great, do that. If you want to be with me, great, do that. Just go where you're happy. And that's what the holidays are all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we've talked about that a lot in this podcast recently too, where we want to start saying yes to life and opportunities and things like that too. And I mean, sometimes as competitors, we get so laser focused on a goal that we forget about everything else. And this is a really good time of year to be sitting back and adjusting that mindset.
Yeah, I'm in that mindset right now. I know, Sean, you're struggling with that too.
Yeah.
I was a long year last year. I was in prep all year, and everybody's like, "What are you doing? And when are you healed from surgery? And what's the next steps?" And it's like I don't vision myself prepping right now. I just have no interest in that. And not to say that in 4 weeks time that's going to change, but like as of, what is it, 3:57 on the 12th or the 4th of December, I just have no
Right.
interest in talking about that right now. I'm enjoying my life, and I have my friend Victoria in town for the weekend. Like, these are things I can't do when
Yep.
I'm in prep, and I need that for my soul. And I think it takes time to understand where you're at as a human and accept that feeling and lean into it and give yourself that, because there's been times that I have felt like this and I just said, well, fuck it, I'm going to prep anyway. And it's hard mentally. Was the prep done? Of course, for me, whatever I'm working on always gets done. Was I enjoying it? Probably not, not to the best of my ability. So, just leaning into where you're at for sure.
Yep. And it's also, adjusting expectations and things too. So we can kind of roll into, the announcement of the rules and everything, the schedule and stuff for next year. So, um, first thing talking about the schedule for specifically for Fit Model, but also bikini. There's significantly less shows for bikini this year, but they don't have the international shows on there yet either. It's just the states. So that is gonna change. There's gonna be more. But specifically for Fit Model, there's not a lot of shows. There's not including the Olympia all year till December. There's 17 total pro shows. And my vision for this year was, as I said before, I want to do shows like where my family can be there and see me or whatever. This is gonna be my last year competing, so like I want to make it a good experience where people who have supported me can be there and all of that. So my thought process was doing, a show in Vegas, a show in Virginia, a show in New York, like where my family and everything is, right? And there's no options for that. I'm just like, I'm looking at the schedule and I'm like, I want to compete in the summer because for me that's the easiest time for me to compete as far as like life stuff is concerned. There's only Florida shows. Only. I'm like I don't have anybody in Florida that would come to the shows. So if anybody wants to come see me compete, they got to travel. And I'm just like, so now I have to start adjusting my expectation of when I'm going to compete. And then and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not gonna commit to anything right now because hopefully there'll be a few more shows that get added, that kind of thing. I don't know if there's going to be or not. I don't know if this is the final list or not, but if it is the final list, then I got to start making some decisions as far as what I'm going to do. Um, but again, it's just I've had this vision of how I was going to play this year out, and now I have to change it. And so for me that was a letdown, you know and then also the rule changed or the not even rule change but the rule rollout for a fit model. So I asked this in my stories yesterday, what everybody thinks about pro fit model routines being 10 seconds as the time limit, and nobody is happy about it, including myself. I'm just going to be 100% honest. I am not happy about it. As soon as I read that, I was like, well, why the fuck am I going to put my body through this for 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Why?
Hmm. I understand that. I mean, especially, I mean, if anything, I think it should have at least been halved of bikini. So if we're saying bikini has 30 seconds and fit model should have been at least 15. I mean, when you really think about it, 10 seconds is like no time at all. But yeah, it's a little short for
Well, the
sure.
rules the rules specifically state for bikini it's 45 seconds. That's what they
Okay.
have on there.
Okay.
So I would have even been fine with them saying like 30 seconds for fit model or something like that. That's acceptable. I can understand that. I could even understand 25 seconds. Once you start getting underneath that, it starts being like, why the hell am I up here? You know what I mean? Like, okay. And more than anything else, I'm just going to be brutally honest. Maybe somebody will listen to this and I don't know if they felt this way when they put the rules together, but this is what I felt. I felt like it was a slap in the face. Like, we only want your money, that's why you're here. And I'm just going to be honest, that's how I felt, and based on the DMs I got since yesterday, that's how everybody feels. So I'm putting this out here as somebody who wants to compete in this division. You need to think about your customers, who are your athletes, your people that are getting on stage. And not only that, I mean, I know you're not in fit model, but you're a coach to fit model girls. You've got to break the news to them. You know what I mean? And you got to make sure they're excited to compete. And when we have this as our reason or our carrot, our thing that we're going after, I'm sorry, it's not worth it.
Yeah. I understand that. I mean, you said that yesterday and you just said it here, putting my body through that for what? And it's a unique perspective, right? Because we talk about that in bikini where, we prep for whatever 18 to 20 weeks for 45 seconds on stage, right? It's a blip in time. Now we're saying the same. We're prepping for 16 to 18 weeks for fit model and for 10 seconds on stage. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a lot of time to showcase the hard work and the preparation that you put into
Yep.
so not I'm not obviously an active competitor myself, but like Sean's saying, I have athletes that do compete in this division and they're heartbroken. They want more time. And somebody an athlete said to me in regard to the role, she was like, this is supposed to be more of a model-esque division, so
100%.
shouldn't we have a little bit more time to have more of like a model presentation? And she did acknowledge, she's like, I understand that we're not supposed to have a glute transition pose and a side pose in there, but everybody that did turn pro this year had the ability to have those in, even though they didn't hold it. And then correct me if I'm wrong, I think in the current rule standings, it just says they want a 180-degree turn. I think they put that very specifically so they can take out a side glute pose and a transitional poses.
You might be right. I'm gonna pull it up right now and find the rules. I've got my thing sitting here. Hang on a second.
So ultimately, like if that is right, I think that is what I read last night. The athlete was confused because she was like, if they're awarding a specific presentation all year for the Fit Model Pros, why did they not carry that same standard going into 2026? And obviously these are just all questions and I don't have answers to them. I can't speak for the office or what they're thinking.
Yeah,
But that was a valid concern that was shared.
yeah. So I'm looking at this now, and it does say 180 degrees, but they're talking about the comparisons.
Okay.
So what it specifically says is each competitor is then called on stage individually in numerical order, and once at center stage, the competitor has up to a maximum of 10 seconds to perform their front and back poses. Where it's talking about the 180-degree turn, that's under the direction of the head judge. This is during comparisons. The model walk is performed as follows. From a front pose, turn 180 degrees towards the rear of the stage and adopt a back pose, walk to the rear of the stage and pause, turn 180 degrees towards the front of the stage and walk back to the center line. So they're talking about what the walk to the back is.
I mean,
Um,
but realistically, the
yeah,
only way you're gonna get to 10 seconds is by doing a 180-degree
100%.
turn.
100%. Yeah, there's no
It's the only way.
transitions, no nothing. Yes.
It's the only way.
Yep. Yep.
But this is something else too that I've noticed with this division, which is a little bit frustrating, is one of the biggest things that they said for Fit Model was the 50% coverage on the glutes.
Yes.
And it was very much enforced toward really through nationals, through like the summer nationals. And
Mhm.
then at the shows recently, they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's getting awarded. So it's confusing because it's like, okay, well, I had an athlete competing on stage in July, and you told me she lost a placing because her suit wasn't 50% coverage, and that's a part of the criteria. But now it's an athlete's winning an overall and arguably had a smaller suit than my girl back in July. So,
Absolutely.
so it's just whatever it is, it needs to stay consistent. And
100%.
we were talking about this last night. We saw the same issue with wellness years ago when it was new. And the only way that we're going to get what we want or get consistency is to keep, giving the feedback and,
Yes.
hopefully speaking out. And, I will always do my part in that, with the people that I have connections with and continue to get clarification. And
Yeah.
it's definitely still a struggle for the judges too. I mean, I don't know if I talked about this on the podcast I did recently after Atlantic Coast, but I mean, in the Fit Model Amateur Day, this girl came out and she was just stunning. I mean, the entire room, we were all looking around like that. We thought that was the overall winner. Well, long story short, she was true novice. She comes out in the open. This girl beats her, and that girl's the one that went off to get the overall. And we were all so confused, and I wanted to go up directly to Tyler after and be like, "Hey, what was going on?" But he was giving feedback backstage, and then he left. So I'm coming back from the cruise a couple days ago, and I saw one of the judges, Lewis.
Mhm.
He was in the airport, and I said, "Hey, we were just shooting the shit." I said, "Hey, can I ask you something?" I was like, "Can I show you these two people?" And what was the discussion at the table? And he said that they were arguing over that one. So it's
Mhm.
just it's the judges are still figuring it out too.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know.
And I understand that too. And that's why I said, like, when we were talking about the number of shows that were available, I understand why there's so few shows because it's brand new on the pro stage. The promoters still have to pay the sanction fees. They don't know if it's going to bring them any more money, that kind of thing. So I do get that. It was the same way with wellness when wellness first started. There weren't a lot of pro shows. So I understand that part of it. What I feel like the rules do though, the way that they're stated right now, is it cuts this division off at the knees because what it does inadvertently is tells everyone that's competing in fit model that we're not worth it, that we're less than everybody else on stage because we're the only ones that are getting that kind of a time limit. And again, I think even if they gave us 25, 30 seconds, everybody would have been okay with that, you know? But like being that the next step up, the next one closest to us is bikini with 45 seconds, it's like there is a huge disparity right there. And it literally is like, well, we don't care about you guys. We just started this division to get more money into the system, and that's why we did it. We don't actually care about you. That's what it's saying. So this is why I'm putting this out there very succinctly and very like forcefully, because I don't know if that was the intention behind the rule, but it is going to cut people off at the knees and make them not want to compete in this division because that's not enough.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
mean,
not.
obviously, I don't think that was the intention. I think
Correct.
that it could be taken that way for sure.
Correct.
My
Yes.
curiosity is, they say bikini 45 seconds, but I cannot think of one time this year other than the Olympia they gave me 45 seconds. They
Yes.
tell us now 30 seconds, right? So it's like
Yes.
that's in the rules. I'm supposed to get 45, but they tell you backstage, don't do a T walk, you get 30 seconds. So I'm wondering if
Yes.
it's the same thing for Fit Model, where they're like, okay, well, you're supposed to have 10 seconds, but once you turn back around from the back, we'll dismiss. So it's just
Well,
we
and
just
that's what I'm
gotta give
saying. I'm
them.
like, what I think they should have done is across the board in every division, 30 seconds across the board for
Yeah,
everybody's routines. I think that would have solved the problem right there. And again, then it's up to the individual promoter too. You could put a little line in there, subject to time availability, blah, 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 whatever. And then the promoters could change it backstage. But then you don't have such a huge disparity that literally just tells girls that are going into fit model, we don't care about you. You know what
sure.
I mean? You
Yeah,
know,
I
and,
mean,
it's and that's the thing. It's like this is why I'm saying this. Maybe this is something that can be amended because I'm telling you, I'm saying it out loud, but everybody was saying it to me in my DMs. So these are and the athletes in this sport are your customer, right? The athletes in this sport are the ones that bring the money into the show. So you do need, and they listen. You do need to listen to us.
yeah,
So
100%. I mean, and
it's just
something else
it's
I'm concerned about is, obviously we're adding in a new division, and then we have a lot of the shows doing the natural shows. Like
yes,
we were exhausted after
yes,
Atlantic Coast, and like I just don't feel like a lot of people recognize that. Like for the coaches that are on site, like it's a lot of work for us. Like we are
yes.
usually there on a Wednesday or Thursday, and we're there all weekend. Traveling home on a Monday, which is arguably the busiest work day of the week, is not fun. You're at the mercy of Wi-Fi. Most of the time we're coming east to West Coast. Like it's a lot,
It is.
and We're trying to give feedback to the promoters that instead of having a Sunday show, can't we do a Friday, Saturday show?
Mhm.
But there's so much cost to that too. It's
Yep.
another night of hotel, et cetera, et
Yep.
cetera, et cetera. Let's just the list goes on. And now we have new divisions being added. And I just think just like you're saying, Sean, like as a whole, like give each division the same timing and try to maximize as much as you can in terms of divisions, but also giving people a fair look and a fair shot,
Yes.
but also not
Yes.
wanting to be there for, 12 hours in a day.
Yes.
It's a really, really hard line. Like I still don't know why NPC guys have sometimes I think they have 60 seconds.
They
The
do.
NPC guy. I'm like,
They
why
do.
do they why?
They don't need it.
Because at an Olympia, for the guys, they get 45 seconds. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
that's a really easy way to cut time.
Yeah.
Most of the time when we're in an NPC show, what significantly slows down the show is classic physique, men's classic
100%.
physique. So these are all things that I think need to be looked at because the shows are just getting longer. The weekends are getting more and more demanding. And because of Fit Model, we are more busy. There's a lot more athletes that came into the sport this year. I literally just had a consult with one of Drew's dearest family members, and she wants to do Fit Model. She
Yeah.
finally wants to compete because Fit Model is available now.
Absolutely.
So I hope that they keep the momentum going and give the division the time that it deserves.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right. I mean, we just had this conversation before we got on today. I have so many lifestyle clients right now that are like, I want to do fit model next year. Can I do this? I was like, yeah, absolutely, 100%. It's an easy way for us to transition normal people into the sport. It's doable for them. And
Yeah.
it's exciting for them. It's a challenge for them, that kind of thing. So it's a very, very good division to get new blood into the sport. And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, we don't I know, at least for myself, I don't think a lot of us have this big vision of being like rich and famous off of being a fit model athletes. You know what I mean? But we have the only carrot that we have right now is the opportunity to win a pro card and get to showcase our hard work on the pro stage and maybe go to the Olympia if we get lucky. You know what I mean? But when you take away part of that, it's like, okay, so once I get my pro card, we're going to have this problem where girls are going to be like, okay, I got my pro card. They're not going to compete
Yeah.
as a pro. There's again, I sit back and I'm like, I've already made the decision that I'm gonna compete this year because I want to compete in this division before I retire and all of that. But there's gonna be girls who are like, I got my pro card, it's not worth it
I'm done.
continuing to do this, I'm done. So I'm like, and
Yeah.
I don't blame them. I don't blame
Yeah.
them, you
Yeah. It'll
know?
be really, that's the thing. It's like, I'm just so curious who of the active new fit model pros that were
Mhm.
awarded in 2025, who's going to be coming out. Think about at least 50% of them are going to come out right away. And then obviously like who the bikini pros are now. They're going to be making a switch because I've had several conversations at the
Yes.
Olympia and, private conversations I've had at, events outside the Olympia. There's a lot of good athletes that
Yeah.
you're not expecting to come into Fit Model. And,
Yes.
I think that we just got to get it on stage. And then hopefully, too, that those names, those larger names that step into this category, make the category what it needs to be.
Mhm.
And then it will continue to get more respect and more looks. And that's what I'm hoping happens. That's the hope that I have to hold on to. Talking about the carrot dangling, that's what I have to hold on to is that,
Yes.
these athletes that have a very big reputation in the category are going to set the precedence for this new category.
And there's a lot of girls, like one of the girls that won her pro card that was pretty highly talked about earlier in this year messaged me last night and was like, correct me if I'm wrong. She's like, but I think bikini gets 20 seconds on stage. I said no, and I screenshot. I said bikini gets 45, and she goes, oh, so they basically just hate us. I was like, basically, like and this is a girl who was very highly talked about at the beginning of the year and has been prepping all year to go onto the pro stage next year, and I'm like,
Yeah. And like
so
we always talk about, like I think feedback is professional and
yeah,
acceptable as long as it's done in the right way, so if this is your
absolutely.
category and you're listening to this, like I think there's definitely ways to express the thoughts around it and
Yep.
ask for what you want. And again, even if it's not heard now, there is going to maybe a situation in the future where they're like, okay, we've already heard this feedback. Now we need to take this more seriously, you know? So
Yeah,
the only way that they know how to troubleshoot is if we give them
that's right.
that verbal feedback.
That's right. And I kind of wish there was some way for them to come to us prior to putting the rules out so that we don't feel like we are like trying to, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Trying to butt heads with them. You know what I mean? Like if they could just do a simple like email out to all of the girls that have competed in fit model or whatever and said, listen, these are the things that we're thinking about doing for the rules. Can you give us our feedback, some feedback on this? It doesn't have to be anything like spectacular, but it can be just like a
A
like a
survey.
yeah, like a survey, like a poll. Like how long do you want your routines to have to be? 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds. Which one would you rather have? Whatever it may be, just so you can get some feedback from the people who are actually in the sport. Because I think they may be sitting back thinking that they're doing the right thing, but then once they put it out there, they realize how much negative feedback they're getting from it. And now they have to circle back like a cat covering up shit. It's like, it's like, well, if you just come to us first, we could give you the feedback first.
Yeah.
Ask us, we'll tell you, clearly. Like, we'll tell you. Because the bottom line is that we want to see this successful. We want to see the athletes successful. We want to see the shows successful, which in turn means we want to see the IFBB successful. So, we do have a voice in that.
Yeah, we're all at the end of the day working toward the same goal. We're
That's
just
right.
having different visions of how to get to it differently.
That's right. That's right. And I always do that. I've said this several times in the podcast. If you've got everybody in a room, you've got two people in the room, they both think the same way. One of you is not necessary. So you've got to get some opposing views in that room in order to get the right mix, right? That's the hardest part about, talking about politics, right? You've got Republicans, Democrats, like libertarians, socialists, whatever. You got everybody in a room. Everybody's got different ideas, but if you can all come together and compromise on something, that's going to be your best blend because you're going to have voices from every side of the coin. So this is what we're asking for. I know that there's been lots of talks before about like having an athletes union and all that kind of stuff, and it never really materialized very well and all that kind of thing. I don't think we need to go that far. I don't think that's something that we need, but I would love it if they could come out and ask us for our feedback. We're the ones that are in
Feedback.
the yeah, we're the ones that are in the trenches every single day. We're the
Yeah.
ones working with the clients. We're the ones getting on the stages. Come ask us. Ask us what we see. Ask us for our feedback. I will say this, after every show that I go to where I see Gary Udit, he will call me and ask me what I thought, what my ideas were for the next time. What can they do better? Things like that. What would make the experience better? What would make the show smoother? All those kinds of things. I appreciate that kind of stuff. You know,
Yeah.
because I'll be honest. I'll tell you exactly what you want to know. You know,
Yeah. I think that's the thing about feedback though, is that if you're asking for feedback, you also have to be willing to listen to it and
that's true.
apply. Not to
Yes.
apply everything, of course, but you have
Yes.
to be willing to listen to it. And there's just maybe something that there's too much feedback going on or just
Yes.
not in a place to accept that feedback. But that's what Greg and I always talk about. The Bernard is like, he's like, if you're going to ask for feedback, you have to be willing to
Right.
hear the feedback and
Absolutely.
potentially apply it. But I also agree with you. We were me, Nikki, and Javi, my manager out in Push. We were on a group text last night. We were talking about this event that we're hosting, and Javi was just kind of throwing out some like logistics or different problems that could come up, and I came back with the resolutions for those. He goes, "Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to." And I was like, "No, like I want you to put that out there because
Mhm.
I might not think of something that could be a potential issue, and I would want to know that."
100%.
So even though it wasn't an issue in that moment, I already had it covered. There's going to be another event where he comes up with something that could be an issue. I'm like, "Oh yeah, we need to address that." But you know two heads are definitely better than one. But I've also been in the position as well where I'm like, this is my idea, this is the way I want to do it. No, I'm not going to ask for anybody else's opinion because this is the way I want it done.
Yep.
So it could be something like that too, but I don't think they're coming out as a
Mhm.
malicious way at
No, I
all.
don't.
I can understand though how that looks for sure
100%.
and how it makes people feel, and I think that that's what's the most important thing to say is like, I don't think there was any malicious intent behind that, but it does make us feel less than. It does make us feel like you don't want to see our physique on stage.
Right.
Why are we the only ones that are like, those are definitely valid questions for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's kind of the center point that I want to drive home. You know what I mean? Um,
Perception.
perception, 100%, absolutely. And that's hopefully by us making that clear. And we're not the only ones doing this. Like I see it all over social media. All the fit model pros, the new ones are all coming out saying the same thing.
Yep.
So kudos to everybody that's coming out and voicing your opinion and being honest about it. Um, that's what's going to help. You know, I mean, you can't fix the problem if you don't know there's a problem.
100%. And I do think that we were all really excited, to see
100%.
the list and what's going to be the first
Yes,
show. And I do think that it killed the wind in people's sails, and that's
sure did.
shitty to hear. Of course, we don't want anybody to feel that way. But that's the biggest thing that we got to focus on right now is okay, this is what it is, and this is the problem, and now what are we going to do to try to make a better solution? Try to not fix it, but try to make it better.
Yeah.
And I think that a part of that is talking about it now, how it makes us feel, and the perception behind things. And again, nothing's probably going to change in this moment, but then when it starts really getting on stage, they're going to remember that feedback,
Yep.
from a few months ago. I mean, literally, we're going to be talking about this in 3 months' time. It's going to be the
That's
first
right.
show that. So I do. I think it's important that as the consumers that we have to come out and give our feedback. But again, feedback is very specific. You have to do it in a very professional, specific way. So
Yep.
don't be like the pro boys and what they do on their social media outlets. As you can see, that changes nothing except for
I
cause
know.
some drama.
Oh, sometimes I sit back and I watch that stuff and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, how old are
Entertaining,
we?
but not a problem solver.
I know. Oh, there was one, what was it the other day? We've talked about this before. There's one specific channel out there right now that's very insightful, that's trying to create drama all the time. And they put something out about a guy winning his pro card and then still competing as an NPC athlete and stealing the pro qualification the next time. I'm like, you don't even know the rules. Like that's not. I'm like, that's not against the rules. You're not a pro until you apply for your pro card.
Till you
Like,
accept your pro card.
yeah, it's like you can compete as an NPC athlete your entire life, no matter how many national shows you won, if you don't ever apply for your IFBB pro card. And if you go from IFBB and you decide you want to compete in the NPC again, you can. You relinquish
Yeah.
your pro status. So, I'm like, oh my God.
And when
Right.
you relinquish your pro status, and if you decide to come back, you first have to ask for permission.
And
And
you have
then
to
if
win
you're allowed
again.
to, you have to go earn it back.
Right.
I mean, there was, I don't know the full story. There was some buzz about this woman that she was a pro in bikini and then gave back her pro card, and then she came back in fit model, and she's like not even fit model. Like she's just, yeah.
Uh,
So it's like she's gonna have to work now
yeah.
to have enough muscle just to get her pro card back for fit model.
Yeah.
But
I'd
she
just like to
wanted
take
in
a
bikini.
moment to welcome our new channel partners, Prozis. If you're unfamiliar with them, go ahead and go down into my description box now, click on the link, go check out their site. They are the leading supplement sports nutrition company based out of Portugal, been around for 17 years. You might be asking what makes Prozis unique? Well, everything that they make is made in-house or with trusted partners. They have to go through rigorous testing in Portugal in order to even get any products on the market. So what you're gonna find really high quality, pure supplementation. And one of the biggest things for me is I have some GI issues. So being able to eat some of these more healthy protein treats and things like that and not have any gut issues, oh, worth its weight in gold. Go check them out. Click on the link in my description box below. Use the code CUTIES10 to get all of your discounts and even some special surprises. They're always putting out some amazing promotions. Let them know that I sent you and let me know what you think. Thanks again for watching and thank you for supporting our channel. Now, go optimize your own athletic abilities and check out Prozis.com.
Model.
Yeah.
But she wanted it in bikini years ago, which probably was, what fit model is now, right? So
Yep.
it's Eurishna Wellness Pro, same thing. She won her pro card, gave it back,
Mhm.
had to go to the
She did.
office, asked if she competed again, and she won it. But
Yep.
yeah, like there's definitely rules to
So did
this.
Aaron
And
Stern. Aaron Stern
they
won the Olympia twice, and she relinquished her pro status because she went and competed in another federation. She had to come back and win her pro card again.
yeah.
She won the
And I
Olympia
appreciate
twice.
that. I
Yeah,
appreciate that. Like
yeah,
there's protection to the pro card status these days. A lot of people say, well, there's just so many pro cards, and there's a
yeah,
ton of pro cards compared to when you first started competing, Sean,
yeah.
right? It used to be like
Mhm.
first place in the overall, that's it.
Yep,
There's a lot of opportunities. However, there is what, triple the amount of athletes now? I
100%.
mean, probably more than that. So the opportunities are are more, yes, but there's also more bodies to get through. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's hard because I wasn't there back then. I've had
Yeah.
several conversations about people with this, but I do love the protectiveness of it, and that it's not
Mhm.
just like here's a pro card, here's a pro card.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could go to another federation and come back and still be. It's like no, like if you are part of the IFBB NPC, you're loyal to this brand, and
Mhm.
if you decide to go off and do different things, that's great. We're not going to keep you here, but if you come back, you have to earn your status back.
That's right.
Like earn it.
Yeah. They always use the example of Jose Raymond because he's big time 212 bodybuilder. He's retired now, but he won his pro card like 4 times and denied it. So he accepted it once he felt like he was capable of competing on the pro stage. So also because he's a 212 bodybuilder and he's small, and you realize that if you go to the pro league for a lot of these guys, there's nobody left to compete against. You see it a lot in, like, the masters men. There's masters men that will win their pro card over and over again in the NPC, but they're over the age of 50 and they're like, there's no place for me to compete when I get to the pro league. So why would I do
Yep.
this? Like,
Yeah,
this is
I literally
stupid.
talked to a guy a couple years ago backstage, and he said he's won his pro card. It was in the area of like 6 or 7 times, and he's
Wow.
like, "I'm not gonna accept it because there's nowhere to go for me to
That's
go
right.
after this, and I just love to compete." And I was like,
That's right.
"Damn."
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, people don't realize all this stuff when you start stepping back, and it's like, and that makes sense. Like, for a dude that's at that age, I mean, if he was to go into the pro league, there's no masters men's open bodybuilding, none, like
Yeah.
zero. So, like, like, okay, good
There's
luck.
no
You'll have
fun.
like, yeah, you'll have like 2 opportunities to compete all year, and you might have 2 guys that show up. Versus you stay on the local level and the national level, and you can compete every month. You can compete against 5, 6, 7 other guys in your age and height and weight class and all that kind of stuff, where it's a challenge for you and it's fun and it's exciting. There's nothing else that comes with a pro card other than saying that you have a pro card. And when you want to compete and you want to be competitive and compete against some good competition, sometimes you got to stay in the NPC.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, mm, huh, these things.
It's very
That,
interesting.
but with that said, I do know that a lot of my bikini competitors for next year are excited about the list coming out. Even the list for this year, I don't know if it's full. It doesn't have any international shows on it, so it's not complete. But it's what I think it was like 62. I think there was 62.
I didn't count, but I scrolled and I was like, wow, this is significantly less. And
It's gonna be less.
something to consider too with the significantly less shows next year is that they did bring the Olympia back to September. So it's going to be
Mhm.
the end of September, which means the cutoff is going to be earlier, which is going to be the beginning of September. So that is
Yep.
also going to affect the
Yeah,
amount of opportunities.
yeah.
And then obviously we have the new point structure and qualification system. So yeah,
That's actually
I was
something we didn't.
hoping there was going to be less shows. That's
Yeah.
what I was hoping for.
That was something we actually didn't talk about because you were on your cruise last week. They came out with the new host hotel for the Olympia,
Yes.
which that's another thing that I'm waiting for somebody to make it make sense. because they're not saying that they're having the show at the Palm. So the Palm is the host hotel, but that's not where the show's going to be. Like, the expo is still going to be the convention center, and then the show's going to be somewhere else. They're like, I've heard it's supposed to be Orleans or whatever. They're not having the show at the Palm.
You know
So
that for sure?
that's what everybody's saying. I don't know for sure. They haven't said where the show is going to be, but everybody, like, that I've heard talking on, that are in the IPB, that are in the know, have said that it's probably not going to be there, and it's likely going to be at the Orleans.
So I told you guys I had that private conversation with one of the promoters of the
Yeah.
Olympia, but
Yeah.
the way that it was, the way it was discussed to me is that they were moving it so it was a better athlete experience.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine it would be in 2 different hotels.
I,
But I was also
but
expecting it to be in the New Orleans.
I know.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, and again, nothing has come
Mm.
out, but they made it a very specific announcement that this is the host hotel. They said that new, venue coming soon or whatever it was. And again, I've listened to people who are actually a part of the Olympia production, and none of them have said where the show is going to be, but they've also not said it's going to be at the Palm. so,
Interesting.
so I'm like,
Huh.
and I
I'll
like,
try to get
listen,
some intel on that.
I actually think that the Palm is a good place for the host hotel because they've got the Palms Place, which is condos and kitchens, all that kind of stuff. That's actually really good.
Oh,
Like, I
thank
like
God
that.
in Vegas, have a
Yeah.
microwave.
Oh, well, there's two parts of the Palm. So there's the Palm that's the casino, then there's Palm Place, which they're attached, and Palm Place has condos. It's like it's like timeshares.
Cool.
So you can get a full like I did a photo shoot in August, and that's what the photographer always gets a suite there, because you've got the bedroom, the bathroom, the kitchen, the out balcony, all that stuff. And you've got a lot of places to shoot in the actual condo. So that makes sense, you know.
Interesting.
So I think that was actually, as a host hotel, I think that's a good idea. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But then, you start looking around and everything, but where's the actual show going to be?
Well, that's that's a big part of it. So.
I know. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, we've had this conversation so many times. It's like, while the Orleans is not like the most upscale hotel ever or whatever, it's got a nice arena there. Like, everything's right on site. The only thing you have to go off site for is the expo. So,
This is why I'm
that's,
confused, because this is literally what they were telling me when I was in this conversation with them.
I know.
Something must have happened. It must have been the Orleans at first, and then it flipped. Who knows?
I have no idea.
Yeah, who
And I'm
knows?
looking at it and I'm like, the only benefit to the Palms that I see is the Palms Place with the kitchens and all that kind of stuff. It's
Where
actually
even on
more.
the strip is that? Is
It's
it
off
off
the
the
strip.
strip?
It's off the
Okay,
strip. Yeah, it's across the street from the Rio. So, it's down the street from the Orleans, like a few blocks.
got it.
Um, so that's why I'm still inclined to say they're probably still going to have the show at the Orleans,
New
but I
Orleans.
yeah, but I don't know, to be
I
honest.
mean, knowing Wings of Strength, if they do that, then they're just going to have a bunch of shuttle buses going back and forth, which they have done.
Yeah,
It's not convenient though.
yeah, yeah.
It's going to be
Well,
like
and
the
that's
2022 Olympia. Yeah.
well, and that's what I said about when you look at the pricing too. The pricing for Palms is more expensive than Resorts World. So I'm
Really?
like, not by much, but like $20 a night, but still, it's not any cheaper.
I
So
mean, you would think that the Resorts World would be more expensive. It's
you
brand
would think,
new. Yeah, it's
you would think,
posh. Yeah.
you would think. And the benefit to Resorts World is, again, like the show, everything was right there, and you could take the Tesla loop over to the expo center. You could walk if you wanted to walk the 10 minutes. It was not a big deal to get over there. So that there were, as not competitor friendly as the Resorts World was, it still was beneficial for the show as far as location and things like that are concerned.
Yeah.
So, but pricing not good, no kitchens, no coffee pots, things like that, all those things. So I understand the move to like more condo experience. I get that. That makes sense.
Yeah. Everything else
But everything else, I'm like,
not making sense.
I don't know. Like, I just don't know. I'm like, can we just put the Olympia in Columbus, Ohio, where they have the Arnold, and just do everything there? Because that would work.
It's actually not a bad idea.
Right?
Not a bad idea.
Right?
However, I did not like Columbus for post-show experience. Love
True.
the Arnold though.
True.
Like I think that's gonna be like my top show of my
Yeah.
career. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was just such a great experience, but like post show was shitty. And that's the thing, like that's what I love about Vegas. Like you could like go out after, the city's up all night, you spend a couple days, whatever. And then when it was in Orlando, I was local to Orlando at that time, so I
Yeah.
loved
Yeah.
that. But nobody wants to go on iDrive at 9 o'clock at night. Like it's
Yeah.
so much traffic and tourists. And so like that's where Vegas is really great for that. But
Yeah.
I don't really see a lot of athletes that go out and party after.
I
So like,
don't.
is it really worth the Vegas experience?
Yeah. They
Yeah, I don't
really
know.
they really don't. Like I went to the gala after the Olympia this year, and nobody was there but fans. Like, and even that, it wasn't full. Like, it was barely, like, there was nobody dancing,
I
there was
don't go
nobody
to the
doing,
gala.
you didn't go. I literally went for about a half an hour, long enough to take some photos up on the rooftop and say I was there, and then I left. I was
No,
like,
I was,
no.
I was eating Wingstop in my room watching
I know, I know.
finals,
But I was looking
licking my
around.
wounds.
The whole reason I went was I wanted to see people and say hi. Nobody was fucking there. And I'm just like,
I just kept, because we had this huge ass room. I was just inviting like everybody up to my room, and then
yeah,
there was like 15 or 20 of us. It was fun. We ended up all walking across the street. There was a liquor store. We got a couple of bottles, and like we literally just ordered and fitted and watched the live stream. It was so fun, so
and
fun.
literally you can do that in any city,
Literally
like, I
anywhere.
mean, so, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I mean, there's just so many things that I feel like could be just so
Could be
much
better.
easier. So much
Yeah.
easier. Because I get it. I understand, like I said, like the experience for after party life. But even even the people that do go out in Vegas tend to be the athletes that live there, right? Because they
Yeah.
have like
They know where to go.
connections. Yeah, they have connections with people in the club, so they
The
have after
promoters.
parties set up. They have all that kind of stuff. So like you see that we saw that a couple years ago. Like Amy, remember Amy had like an after party at one of the clubs and stuff like that. She lives in Vegas, so like
Right.
she knows people.
Right.
So I don't know.
No, I agree. I agree. I wanted to get a pool cabana on Sunday after the show, and we one of our athletes' husbands is a promoter out there. So it was
Okay.
all teed up, it was ready to go, but obviously I was not feeling in the party mood Sunday after the Olympia.
Yeah.
So I should have just
Yeah.
went home. But anyway, we
Yeah.
made the best of the situation. But yeah, you definitely need to like know someone out there because it could get expensive too, especially if
100%.
you're a guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Girls get it free everywhere, but the guys
Yeah.
don't. And I roll around with at least two or three, husbands,
Yeah.
at all times. So it's like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Well, and even and like when you and again when you're local here, you get a lot of different perks and stuff. Like I got a cabana at one of the at Sahara for my birthday, but it's free for locals. So and then when to get in, and then you just get your cabana, and then it's a food and beverage minimum or whatever,
Yeah.
and that's not a big deal. But there's a lot of places like that are out there for locals, but not for people that are just coming into town for an event.
Yeah.
Vegas is expensive. I'm sorry, Vegas is expensive to come vacation here.
Yeah. I mean, I really feel like the Olympia literally could be anywhere as long as
Oh,
it's
yeah,
all on one site and you don't feel like you have to move around. If you're in a hotel where everything's in one site and there's like decent restaurants in the hotel, great. Like you're
absolutely.
good. And then anything else,
Yep.
you just Instacart or order in, like
Yep.
just typical.
Yep.
Um,
Well,
I
even
think that
even when we were in Orlando, because it was all attached to that Hyatt there, like after the
I love the
shows,
Hyatt.
yeah, we would
I
all just
miss the
hang out in the
Hyatt.
bar. Like I mean, we were there all the time because of COVID. Down there, all of the shows took place there, not just the
I
Olympia.
know, it was great.
Yeah,
I miss the Hyatt Regency days. Like those were the
and that
best shows.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that marketplace thing was open like 24 hours. So, you could sit down there in the lobby and hang out and just talk and stuff like that. And like that's what we did. Like it wasn't that when you're at shows like that, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Same thing for the Arnold. Like the Arnold, the one thing that I'm not a fan of is everything shuts down early in Columbus. So it's like it is what it is. But yeah, it's the same thing. People stay at the hotel and just hang out and so
Well,
it's
it's like
like
the more I do this, like I would have people like come visit me and it's like, okay, like
yeah,
let's do a group dinner after. So like we go to the
yeah,
group dinner, but it's like I'm stuck at one end of the table and then I didn't even get to see half my friends that flew out. So it's like, we're always trying to make plans. And finally this year, that's why I said, like, I want to do the hotel because everybody that's here for me, I want to be able to get up and go to this side of the couch. Or like I was actually able to mix and mingle with the people that fly out to see me,
yep,
so I definitely think that's feasible because I'm
100%.
not going to be doing that anymore. Like
Hmm.
I'm not trying to stress post show about showering and getting 15 people together for a 7:30 reservation. Like it worked out perfectly this year. People came and
Yeah,
went as they wanted to. We stayed up late. We made
yeah,
it fun. I got to see everyone and I didn't have any guilt when I woke up on Sunday. I was like, I
yep.
saw every single person that came here to see me and I felt so good about it.
Yeah, it made me laugh. I was just thinking about this too because we just got a table at that cigar bar at Resorts World this year, right? So it's me, Jennifer, and Jamaica. My girls and stuff all showed up. I had probably 10, 15 girls say that they were going to show up, and none of them did. I was like, "What? This is why I don't plan things because
Exactly.
nobody comes." I
Exactly.
was like,
Well, especially on show weekends, like, that's the
"Yes,
thing is, like, we feel really good 2 weeks in, we're like, "Yeah, let's do a girls' night," and then you just did 10 hours sitting in the same spot,
yes,
running around with your athletes, and it's like, Laura Lee and I, we were supposed to go out to dinner, like, 3 times at Atlantic Coast, and I was like, "Girl, I'm so fucking tired." She was
yep,
tired too. It was just like, it's just you have good intentions, but
yeah,
these show weekends are
brutal,
draining, and
yeah,
at Atlantic Coast, I had 0 athletes, I was just helping everybody else, and I was 2 weeks post-op, and I was just exhausted.
uh-huh."
Like, it's
Well, even
tiring those 3-day
I
shows.
was
You're
going to mention
talking to
that
everybody, you're helping
yeah,
everybody, everybody's asking you questions. And not that I don't love these things, it's just mentally taxing. Like when you get an hour alone, it's like I just want to go back to the hotel room. And it's like when you get to the hotel room, you still hear the ringing in your ears. That's how
yeah.
you know it's been a very, very chaotic day.
Well, even with I was going to mention this. We were talking about show timing. I was at Ben Weeder, and like I had just flown in that night on Thursday night because the girls were on Friday. So I flew in that night. I got back to my house at like 9 o'clock at night or something like that. got up in the morning, went, did hair and makeup at 4 a.m. And then I go downstairs, I'm talking to everybody. I didn't even get into prejudging because I started talking to people. And I'm like, so I missed all of pro prejudging, all of it. I was like,
Whoops.
okay. I was like, well, whatever. So at that point, I'm like, well, I'm running on E right now, you know? So Dan needed the car and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, fucking, I'm gonna leave. So it was like, I don't know, it was around 11 or something when I left. Um, they didn't get done with that day of the show till after midnight.
Ben Weeder, right? You're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, Drew was at Ben Weeder. He said he'll never go
Yes.
back.
Yeah. Because I
I
saw
was
him
I
that
was
morning.
literally
Yeah.
FaceTiming him because I was here and obviously he was in the West Coast and it was like 10 o'clock here and he was still downstairs with his athlete and he was exhausted. And
Yeah.
again, that was day 2.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
then he had another day the following day, but one of his athletes dropped out, so he was able to come home. But he was like, that show is so long.
Yeah. And
Ridiculous.
I mean, I don't know why. Like, I know the numbers were up this year. So that was something too. It was like, I think it was like close to 500 bodies, I think, between the women and the men. But
It's
still,
good.
that was broken up over 2 days. So that's still, if you break it up to 250 per day, that's not a huge show.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why they were still on stage after midnight, you know?
I think it's just like having the pros in the middle, and then they give the pros ample time and then
Yeah.
but it's a qualifier too.
Yeah.
So, there's live judging going on more than normal. Like you said, more bodies, but yeah, Drew and Hannah were at that one and he was literally
Yeah.
like, I am never doing that
Well,
show
like
again.
my fitness girl, she won her Olympia qualification at that show,
Yeah.
Andrea.
Yeah.
And I was watching her stories because she went on stage. I missed her prejudging. She went on stage at 8 a.m. And then she's like, I feel like a whole lifetime passed between prejudging and finals. She goes, we were supposed to be downstairs backstage getting warmed up fitness for the routines at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They're like, they didn't go down. They told us everything's being pushed back. They didn't go down to warm up for the routines till after 7. Yeah. I was like- she goes, I feel like a whole lifetime has passed between prejudging and finals today. It's like, yeah, that's a freaking long day. Just sit
Yeah,
around.
and think about so that sucks for the athlete,
Yeah.
right? And especially a fitness athlete, and
Uh,
then it sucks for the coach too. Like, you
yeah.
have a specific timeline of when you're being told that an athlete's gonna be on stage, you peak them for that time, and then poof,
Yep.
flop,
Yep.
and that's where I think we need to dial this in. Like, I
100%.
really, really think that something needs to change with the setup of the shows, whether it's
Absolutely.
sessions where it's like, okay, it's live judging straight through, let's award. I would personally love that. I understand the
100%.
reasons for finals and things like that, but I think that if we're going to continue to add divisions and give people the amount of time that they deserve, I think there needs to be a change of prejudging in the morning till finals in the PM. For me, I feel like I love the shows where it's, the guys in the morning have the session, so prejudging finals, they're done, get them out of here, do the pros, prejudging
Yep.
finals, get them out of here, women in the afternoon, prejudging finals, boom, we're done.
Yep.
Everybody's great. And
Yep.
those are the shows that I noticed that we're the most happy as coaches because it's great for us to peak back to back.
Mhm.
It's the most great experience for the athletes because they're
Mhm.
just on stage, their family's there, their family's not texting them, when are you going to be on stage, when can we go to dinner, and then they're out of
Mhm.
there, everybody's eating dinner by 10 o'clock at night.
Yep.
um I definitely think there should be a change for that, for sure.
Yeah. And this is something where it's like, this is where I understand the time limits
Right.
on the routines. I get that, but it needs to
But make
be
it fair.
that's right, universal across the board,
Yeah,
right? Like
I
I
agree
said,
with
like,
that
you know,
100%.
I don't think there's any need. We saw it we see it at the Olympia every year. Ashley Caldwell is a perfect example of somebody who does a front back front, gets off the stage. You know what I mean? She's on stage for what, 25, 30 seconds. That's what she's on stage for. That's all you need.
Yeah,
That's it.
I
So
think
make it across the board.
20 to 25 seconds is plenty.
Yeah, make it across the board. Across the board, just this is our time limit. This is where we are. That you get your time, blah blah blah. And then, like I said, everybody, it's equal opportunity.
Yeah,
There's no feeling of being discriminated. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's like that would, I think, would help, just across the board would help. You
yeah,
know,
for sure,
so
for sure.
but yeah, so happy New Year. you know and that's the thing. It's like, when we say stuff like this, when we come out with stuff like this, it's because we want to see our sport be better. We want it to be better for us, for our athletes, for the promoters, for the fans, for our families, for everybody involved. You know what I mean? And I think even if we could just have, they used to do this, and I don't think they do it anymore. They used to have a promoters meeting after or before nationals every year. So all of the promoters would get together the day before nationals at the end of the year and would, um, they'd have like just a meeting to talk about new rules for the following year. We need to do that, but it needs to be like an open forums like format. Like we could even do like where we could all Zoom call in or something, you know, and then we raise our hands on the Zoom call to give our suggestions. I think that would be so good for everybody because I'm sure there's things that we're missing. You know, I'm sure there's things that we're not thinking about. So if we can have that discussion with other people, I think we could find better solutions that way.
Yeah, for sure. And then just like we were talking about, more heads are better than one and coming up
Right.
with ideas. And maybe there's something that's going on that we're complaining about, but they do it for a specific reason, but we don't
That's
know what
right.
that reason is, so we don't understand.
Absolutely.
And the fact of the matter is most people don't have these conversations with promoters because it's I would never have a conversation with a promoter when I was an amateur. I just now feel like I can, pick up the phone and call a promoter and be like, "Hey, this is what my feedback is," right? So it's like
Yep.
we all don't really have that connection with them to be able to feel comfortable enough to stop Gary Udit in the hallway and say, "Hey, can I give you some feedback about today's
That's right.
experience?"
That's
Most people
right.
aren't doing that, but could that be helpful? Yeah, of course it could be.
Mhm.
So having that moment of, this is the appropriate time and the appropriate place and the setting, etc. I think that would be a great thing. And again, they don't
Absolutely.
have to they don't have to apply it, but I do think that it's an opportunity for them to collect it and listen to it and decide if they want to apply it or not, or maybe it's not now and this is why. And they're like, oh, okay, I understand your perspective on that. Cool, that makes sense.
Mhm.
It's just conversation, and
Absolutely.
understanding, creating
Yeah.
understanding.
So to those that may be listening out there, let's have a meeting with everybody. Anybody who wants to come in can be a part of it. You know, whether it's in person, maybe in Pittsburgh or something, you have a big like auditorium, or just get everybody on a Zoom call and say,
Yeah.
listen, let's talk, let's discuss. You know, I
What
think
would
that would
be
be
a
great.
cool podcast is if we did a live podcast with our listeners and then we did the slides and
Oh
we
yeah,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah,
all these
yeah,
things that we're talking about and have
yeah.
our listeners vote on it and then put it out there
I
and
love
make it,
that.
yeah, and then just like here, there was 100 people on this live and we asked them how long they think an individual routine should be. This was the responses, or
I love that.
would they love sessions, or what time do they want to be up, whatever, like, and then just have like a live interactive thing. I think it'd be cool to see other people's perspective too versus us just chatting
That's
about this,
right.
about get people's live interpretation and their reasonings too. I think would be cool podcast.
I love that because that's one of the reasons why I do put my question box out on my Instagram too, because I want to hear what other people are thinking and I want to know if
Same.
I'm way
Am
off
I out of
base or
left field?
whatever. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I want
'Cause
to know if
I'm
I'm
cool with
off
it if I'm
base.
out of left field and if I'm the only one that thinks a certain way, clearly it's me.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I
But
think
there's
that's a
also
great idea.
validation in hearing that other people feel the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do this. We'll figure out a time to actually do this. I think this is a really good idea.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are listening right now that are still with us here, go ahead and type into the comments and just say like talk about some topics you'd like us to discuss as far as these kinds of things like time limits on routines, on how to run shows, how this would make it a better experience for you as an athlete, things that have been good for you, things that have been bad for you, whatever, things like that. Anything having to do with making competing in the NPC and IPB better, right? And then we can take all of those. I don't know if we can do it for next week because we'll need to gather all the information, but maybe a couple of weeks from now, maybe after Christmas or something like that, once we get through the holidays, we can have that whole discussion. We can even, I mean, we've got the coaches weekend in January, so maybe we could even do it right after that, after we've had a chance to even talk to the people that are there at the Fit Body Fusion weekend in January. So maybe we'll plan it for like right after that.
Yeah, and just, like, think about if a promoter or someone in the IFBB NBC was watching, like, what type of information or feedback would we wanna give them, you know? So,
Mhm.
I think that would be cool, again, just to hear your guys' perspective and then, to put it out there, and people do watch this, they do
Yeah,
listen, so hopefully it would be a
absolutely.
positive, experience and feedback for anybody that does happen to listen to the
That's right.
podcast.
And always going back to, if we sound frustrated about something, it's because we just want things to be better. Um, at the end of the
We're
day,
passionate.
correct. Yes, passionate is a great word to use. At the end of the day, if we didn't care about what was going to happen to all of you, to all of us, and everything like that, then we wouldn't say anything. But we do. We care. We care a lot. This is our lives. You know what I mean? So this is our livelihood. This is what we do every single day, day in and out, day out. So we should be fucking passionate about it. You know what I mean? We should want to see this succeed. We should want to see this better. And sometimes being better means you got to break it apart a little bit, just like growing muscle. You got to rip it apart to build it back together better, you know? So it's the same thing here. So I think it's important that we continue to have these conversations.
Yes, 100%. This is not going to be the only thing that comes up. And,
Right.
Sean and I have committed to education and talking about the hard things. And it's not meant to, be negative or anything like that. It's just to share our perspective of the situation. And,
Yes,
Sean and I are really big on we just want to leave the sport better than when we found it. And that's always
absolutely.
our mission. That's always our motto. Hearing from you guys too, being your voice of reason in the areas where we can be a voice, and that's ultimately what this is. Like, we just want to hear from you, and how we can continue to use our webs and our pathways to make a better experience for you, for us, and for anybody that comes behind us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's a perfect way to end off this podcast. So,
Yes.
so like I said, guys, type in the comments, give us some ideas of things that you would like to discuss more in depth. And like I said, we'll try to figure out something for maybe towards the end of January as far as putting that together and doing an actual live with all of you and having this discussion. We could even do a situation where I don't know. I have to look at my software capabilities. I might be able to actually bring people on, but I know I can have them type in. I can at least have them type in their questions while we're live. So we'll do that. We'll set that up for towards like the end of the January once we get through all of this holiday stuff.
Yeah, let's get
Cool.
through the holidays, the summit, and then
Yes,
everybody starting prep in January
that's
as well. So we're gonna do
right.
this like mid-January. That'll be perfect.
Perfect. I love that. I love that. All right, you guys. I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. We do have a new year coming up, a fresh start coming up, which we are super excited about. So yeah, we're gonna be passionate all the way through it.
We're already
So
talking about the new season and we haven't
I
even started vacation
know.
yet.
I know, right? I'm like, we still have like we have a month to kind of chill and relax. So kind of, kind of.
Kind of. Kind of, yeah.
So with that, you guys, we will be back again next week. So I hope you all had a great holiday season so far, and that continues to go well for you. And as always, like, comment, subscribe. And for Behind the Bikini, we are out. Bye,
Bye,
guys.
guys.